Welcome back, everyone. Today we're diving into something, well, a little unexpected, I guess. Rick Rubin's The Creative Act.
An interesting choice.
Right. And I know you might be thinking, wait, isn't he that music producer guy?
Yeah, he is, but this book, it's not just for musicians. Not even close.
Definitely not. I mean, that's what really grabbed me. This idea Rubin has that we're all creating constantly, whether we realize it or not.
Totally. Like, it's not about being a painter or a musician, right?
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
bigger than that. It's about how we experience the world, how we choose to interact with it. Exactly. And that really resonates with Rubin's point that we're all artists in a way. Maybe not in the traditional sense, but we're constantly curating our own experiences, even unconsciously.
hmm
Just think about your average day, how many decisions you make, the information you're filtering. That's your own creative process.
That actually reminds me of what he says about our senses. Like, imagine if we couldn't filter anything out, if we were just bombarded by every color, every sound, every smell, all at once.
You'd never get anything done.
Seriously, he compares it to trying to make sense of even one single object with all that input. Impossible.
It's a really powerful analogy, right? It shows just how crucial it is to develop those internal filters. It
Yep.
shapes how we see the world, how we process it, and yeah, how we create from it.
It's like our own way of seeing things, our perspective, that's our artistic signature in a way.
Precisely. That lens you're looking through, that determines what resonates with you, what inspires you, and ultimately what you put back out into the world.
So we've established we're all artists, even if we don't always feel like it. But how do we actually tap into that? Like, where does that creative energy come from? Rubin calls it the source.
Right? The source. Such a powerful concept. It's this idea that there's this, well, inexhaustible wellspring of creative energy, and we all have access to it.
It's not about looking inward, though, right? It's more about connecting to something way bigger than ourselves.
Exactly. And, he uses this great analogy of clouds always changing, forming new shapes, but never really disappearing, are they?
Right, right. So creative inspiration, it's kind of always there, just in different forms. Love that.
Exactly. It's not about creating something from nothing.
Yeah.
It's about being open to receiving it, reshaping it, making it your own. We just got to figure out how to tap in.
So how do we do that? How do we actually tap into this source? It's not like we can just flip a switch and suddenly we're overflowing with creative energy, right?
Well, not exactly, although that would be pretty amazing, wouldn't it?
Sign me up for that.
Uh, but in all seriousness, Rubin talks about the importance of recognizing what he calls clues. It's this idea that there are these seemingly insignificant moments in our daily lives, things we might easily overlook, that can't really hold much deeper meaning or inspiration if we pay attention.
Okay, I'm intrigued. It's like the universe is trying to nudge us in a certain direction.
Exactly. Like little hints. He gives examples like, oh, witnessing a breathtaking sunset or hearing a piece of music that truly moves you. Those moments, those can be clues.
It's about being present enough to actually notice them.
Yes, being present, being aware, because these moments, they can actually serve as gateways to something bigger than ourselves, like these little glimpses into the creative possibilities that exist all around us. But, and this is key, recognizing the clues is only the first step.
Right, right. Because how do we actually translate those subtle hints into something tangible, something we can create with?
Well, that's where the practice comes in. And I'm not talking about practice in the traditional sense, like practicing scales on a piano or something.
Yeah.
Rubin's talking about practicing mindfulness in our everyday lives.
Oh, I like where this is going. So it's about really seeing, really experiencing the world around us, all those tiny details we normally just tune out.
Exactly. Cultivating that awareness, that attentiveness to the world around us, it helps us better tune into those subtle signals, those insights that might otherwise just pass us by. It's about looking with fresh eyes.
And speaking of seeing things with fresh eyes, Rubin talks about embracing the beginner's mind, right?
Yes, such a powerful concept.
It's like sometimes not being an expert is actually an advantage.
100%. Think about it, experts. They can get stuck in their ways. They stop seeing other possibilities.
It's like that saying, in the beginner's mind, there are many possibilities, but in the expert's, there are few.
Exactly. Sometimes our own expertise can blind us to new ways of seeing and doing things.
It reminds me of that story Rubin tells about AlphaGo, the AI that beat the world champion Go player.
Ah, yes.
Yeah.
With a completely unexpected move.
Right. It was a move so unorthodox that no human player would have ever considered it.
And that's the power of approaching challenges with a fresh perspective, free from preconceived notions or, established patterns of thinking.
Love that story.
It's a good one. And it ties directly into another one of Rubin's key points, the importance of approaching creativity with a sense of playfulness and experimentation.
Okay, now this is where things get really interesting. Tell me more.
So instead of going into a creative endeavor with, a fixed outcome in mind, Rubin encourages us to, and I love this phrase, make messes.
Make messes.
Yeah, embrace the unknown, like a scientist experimenting with new elements in a lab. Just play, see what happens.
It's like giving ourselves permission to play. I can get behind that. But it's also a little scary, right? Like, what if I just end up with a bigger mess?
I think that's where trust comes in. Trusting yourself,
Yeah.
trusting the process, trusting that even if things get a little messy, which, let's face it, they often do,
Oh, yeah.
those mistakes, those detours, they can lead to the most unexpected breakthroughs. It reminds me of that story Rubin tells about the musician who stumbles onto this completely new sound just by, messing around with a track.
Just playing around.
Exactly. No plan, just pure experimentation, and bam, something totally new is born.
That's incredible. And, that spirit of experimentation, of being open to whatever happens, it seems even more important when you think about Rubin's thoughts on collaboration.
Oh, absolutely. Collaboration is huge for him.
He's a big believer, right? It's not about competition. It's more like tapping into this collective energy.
Yes. And his analogy for this is so perfect. The jazz ensemble. Think about it. You've got all these individual musicians, each with their own unique voice, their own style.
Right, right. And they come together.
And they listen to each other. They respond to each other. And out of that, something so much greater emerges. It's more than just the sum of its parts.
It's that synergy, right? When everything just clicks. But that takes trust too, doesn't it? I mean, to really collaborate, you have to trust the people you're working with, be willing to let go of a little control.
Absolutely. You have to be open to the unexpected.
Yeah.
Because the magic really happens when you're all in it together, feeding off each other's energy and letting the creative process unfold organically.
So we've talked about tapping into the source, recognizing those clues, embracing the beginner's mind, experimenting without fear of messing up, collaborating with others. It seems like all these things, they contribute to reaching what Rubin calls the ecstatic.
Yes, the ecstatic, those moments of creative breakthrough when everything just aligns.
And that's the goal, right? Those moments when it all just clicks. But what does that actually feel like?
It's funny because Rubin says it's not so much about the end result. It's not necessarily about creating something conventionally beautiful or perfect.
Really?
Yeah. He describes it more as this feeling of rightness, a sense of harmony, of balance that just resonates deep within you. It's visceral. You feel it in your bones.
Like you know it when you feel it.
Exactly. Think of a piece of music or a work of art that truly moves you. It's not just that you like the way it sounds or the way it looks. It's that it evokes a feeling, a sense of connection to something larger than yourself. That's the power of the ecstatic.
So whether we're artists, entrepreneurs, or just trying to live more fulfilling lives, it sounds like Rubin's insights offer a really powerful framework for tapping into that creative potential within all of us.
Absolutely. It's about approaching everything we do with a sense of curiosity, playfulness, and a willingness to embrace the unknown. And the beautiful thing is, anyone can do that.
So true. Well, on that note, that's it for today's deep dive into Rick Rubin's The Creative Act. Until next time, keep those creative sparks flying, everyone.